Hey there guys, this is Flamsaron, aka YouTube's Tosuke. This video in particular is super late, especially considering the second one's coming out like the same day as Exilia, and I've seen this movie 3 times now. Once with AJ, once with Nick, and then a third time with Anime Club, all in English. So I've seen this movie 3 times, and I figured I should kind of talk about it, just kind of do a little review over it. Since I've also read the manga past where the 3 movies lie, so I kind of know what's different from both the manga and the anime. So, overall, the movie itself was decent. The CGI scenes, while I understand why they would put them in just to kind of cut down cost, they don't really ruin the film, and it's not like they're just thrown in just to make everything cheaper. Like, when they're used, they're not used sort of poorly. Like, they're actually used pretty well. And the voice acting, that's also pretty good. The majority of the English cast from the TV series come back, and Guts doesn't really sound too different. He does sound more like a stereotype Guts with sort of low Batman kind of voice, sort of. But it's still pretty good. And he still holds his own in. Casca sounds nice, and all the actors who return sound really good. The only one who's actually legitimately different, to the point where you might not even be able to recognize him from the original cast, is Kevin T. Collins as Griffith. In the original, he kind of did a more like slight British kind of thing, but in this one, he's kind of got a more breathy, sort of subtle kind of I don't really care, I'm better than you sort of attitude, which I think works for Griffith. And it's actually interesting. And it's still Kevin T. Collins. I originally thought it might be Sam Riegel or Regal or Sam or Yuri Lowenthal or something, but it's still Kevin T. Collins, and he does a good job. And I don't think this movie would be nearly as interesting if they didn't get the same voice cast. I don't know. I tend to kind of, like with Symphonia, I guess just because that one, there's more of a reason why they couldn't get it. I mean, with this movie, there's a slight reason why they wouldn't be able to, yet at the same time, new advances for outsourcing to different studios. You know, it's gotten to a point to where dream casting is a little more feasible for these kind of voiceover projects, with the exception of maybe getting like big name celebrities or something. But yeah, as far as what's different from the anime for the it followed the manga as best as it could. I mean, obviously with some stuff that's different because they didn't know how long it was going to go, so they had to change some stuff so that they could have a good ending point. But the main difference is that some scenes are just kind of worked around and changed, like the scene where Casca kind of yells at Guts for being really reckless and kind of doing his own thing. It's like the first actual like mission you see after Guts has become the leader of the Hawks Raiders, and she's all like, you haven't changed it on. And he's like, say that again, in the manga and the anime, but in the movie he's like, you're wrong, I'm different now, I changed, you know. Interesting dialogue. It's more of a location thing, so the scene hasn't exactly changed, but I think it's noteworthy if you're just going to kind of look at this movie and critique it. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that's different. So if that bothers you, well, then. Another thing that's different, they take out the scene of Griffith being naked and Guts being splashed on, and where Griffith kind of talks about where he got the baylet and its little dealio. And in the anime, in the dub at least, he said, scary. But in the manga and in the movie, they actually fix it. He's like, nice, huh? With the same little expression. So they got that pretty well. But the location has changed to... Sorry. My throat's kind of dry. They changed it to where it kind of goes along with Griffith meeting the princess. I can't remember her name. She's also a returning character. The majority of the characters who don't return are characters who are like a little minor. Sean Chamel is still Gaston, but he doesn't play like 5 other characters like he did in the original dub, so that's cool. Because Sean Chamel is a lot like Masako Nozawa in that people mainly know him as Goku, and he's kind of on like a different like level than the other actors, like not higher or lower. At least not for Sean Chamel's, like Masako Nozawa maybe. But he also, you kind of have to outsource him to get him, and he also barely does any other voice work. Like Masako Nozawa, I think I've only heard her doing like 2 other things, and one of them I played in English. So, as far as being true to the manga, they do keep the homoerotic tension between Guts and Griffith. Well, with the whole Griffith saying, "I want you to join. I want you, Guts," and then he's like, "Great, you want me in that way," instead of just him saying, "Are you a homo?" And of course, like the whole "What if I win?" is like, "You can do whatever you want with me. I'll be your sword or your lover." Except, but instead in the movie, he says, "You can have whatever you want from me, my sword or my ass," which I think was just funny. The animation itself, like the 2D animation, it's nice. The art design, they're trying to be more like the manga, so Griffith looks more feminine, and that's kind of the point from what I can tell, especially considering in the prototype he was a woman. So it's definitely interesting, but yeah, overall I'd say it's a pretty good movie. I haven't watched the Japanese version. I am aware that they used an entirely different voice cast. Like, for example, instead of Toshiyuki Morikawa as Griffith, they instead got Takahiro Sakurai, which I initially thought was sort of a weird choice, just on the grounds that it's not someone you'd expect to play this character. But from what I can tell, he does a okay job, and I still mean to watch the movie in Japanese at some point. I'm thinking about doing a comparison between the Japanese and the dub of the Japanese, the dub, I guess we'll say, because that's how they make their anime. They dub in lines. Only difference is they're not dubbing in for someone else. They're just dubbing in to make the voices. The Japanese dub of the show and the Japanese dub of the movie, just to kind of hear the differences. One thing to note is that from what I can hear, because I have heard the original before, like Guts sounds mostly the same, just lower. Griffith, from what I can remember, sounded kind of plain, and so I'm kind of glad that they got Takahiro Sakurai to come in and do a more unique sounding voice, make him stand out a little bit. But the DVD itself, I got it on DVD. I chose not to get it on Blu-ray. I was a little surprised because there weren't any outtakes. I don't know if it was because of different direction or different standard. I mean, several of these actors haven't done that much. I mean, Mark Duraison, the guy who voices or Duraison, or however you say his name, who voices Guts, does a lot of stuff for 4Kids, or he did. And of course, he's also Tokiomi in Fate Zero, so that's another kind of role he's got going. And Kevin T. Collins is a TV actor, so he gets into a lot of crime shows and whatnot. But the other cast, I don't really hear too much about. So I don't know, maybe they felt like since they hadn't gotten a role in a while, they wanted to kind of make sure they do a good job to get more. Or I don't know. A lot of actors tend to stay off the radar, and who knows, some of them might even have another job. But overall, the acting itself was good. There weren't any like weak lines, and with Berserk there weren't any weak lines either. The only real issue was some lip flap mismatch, but that was probably due to the fact that they were using an old dub with a new film master for the movie, from what I could tell. For the show, I mean. I'm talking about the remastered DVD of the show, because I have the remastered set, where it includes all the outtakes and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, decent movie. I'm going to definitely get the second one if I can. Gonna stick with DVD, probably. It's widescreen. It's not that stupid anamorphic widescreen where if you play it on an HD TV, it'll think you're gonna want to do it in standard definition instead of just outputting to whatever format your TV's in. But it's just regular widescreen, because this is a theatrical film, so there's no need to make like an artificial widescreen with it. But overall, decent movie, and I guess you could call this my review of the first Berserk movie, and I hope it rekindles some interest in the series. One thing I will note before I close off is that the opening shows manga clips of the or manga images of some of the post-Golden Age arc characters, which lead me to believe that they want to continue this and make the entire series just a movie series of like just the entire series of Berserk, and maybe do more stuff, which I think would be interesting. Honestly, I prefer a TV show over a movie, just because I feel like I'm just trying to mentally figure out how would they be able to cover like one section in a movie. They'd have to cut it down and really trim what goes on, or call it like part 1 or part 2. Like, it'd be a long movie series if they were to do that. But the third movie, from what I've seen and after reading the manga, I can tell they do kind of add more to what goes on afterwards. So I'm sure they're definitely considering doing another TV show, and I'm guessing maybe they made these movies to kind of start up a new franchise of the later stuff. But who knows? And that's pretty much all I have to say on the first Berserk movie, and when I get it, I'll try to review the second one as soon as I can. Obviously, I have to watch it first. Probably watch it with Nick and AJ, or one or the other, like separately. Watch them with each separately, and probably an anime club as well. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Stay tuned for the next video. This is Flamesron, aka YouTube's Tosuke, signing out. See you later.